Welcome, my name is Rosaura Quiñones. I am the Director of Public Policy of Poder Judicial of the Dominican Republic. I am here with Elizabeth Andersen, Executive Director of the World Justice Project. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for coming to the conference, Conferencia Judicial del Poder Judicial. It's really nice to have you around here and sharing your experience from the World Justice Project. If you can, please describe the mission of the organization and the core objectives and your role in it, please.
Sure. Thank you very much for the honor of attending and addressing the conference and being with you today for this interview. The World Justice Project is a global, multidisciplinary, nonprofit organization working to advance the rule of law around the world. We do that by creating knowledge, building awareness, and stimulating action by multiple stakeholders in the rule of law. We like to think of ourselves as a think tank for the rule of law movement, bringing data and evidence to bear on efforts to strengthen the rule of law, and it's my honor to lead this organization as its executive director.
Yes. Can you briefly describe the performance of the Dominican Republic on the last Rule of Law Index?
Well, maybe first I should explain to the audience what the Rule of Law Index is. This is the flagship project of the World Justice Project, and it is an annual report that measures the rule of law now covering 142 countries. We like to say, if you want to change it, you have to measure it. And that is really the idea behind the index. It measures the rule of law in all these countries across 8 different dimensions of the rule of law, and then breaks that down into 44 sub-factors of the rule of law. So it really allows us to get a detailed, fine-grained look at how the rule of law is working. Another important part of the index is that we are interested in knowing not just what are the laws and institutions on the books in the Constitution, but how are they actually working in practice? What outcomes do they have in people's lives? And we get that picture of the rule of law by conducting surveys of ordinary citizens in each country, and also of legal practitioners and health practitioners about different aspects of the rule of law and good governance in every country. So that's what the index is. Now, coming to the Dominican Republic, which I know is what this audience is particularly interested in. The Dominican Republic, in our 2023 index, which was the last one to be published, scored 0.49 on a scale of 0 to 1. So kind of in the middle of our index spectrum, and it ranked 86th out of 142 countries, 20th out of the 32 countries in the Latin America and Caribbean region, and 27th out of the 41 countries in the upper middle income group of countries. So kind of in the middle of those ranges. But what's really interesting about the Dominican Republic is how much its score and ranking has been improving in our index in recent years. So in 2023, the Dominican Republic's score improved by 1%, and its ranking jumped 8 positions in the ranking in the index. And that's really quite remarkable, because that's a trend that has been continuing year over year. For the past 5 years, the Dominican Republic has improved in our index by 4%. And that is particularly remarkable because at the same time, the rest of the world has been going in the opposite direction. 72% of countries in this period have seen declining rule of law, on average by 5%. So that is quite remarkable. And moreover, in most countries, the rule of law goes up and down by little bits. But in the Dominican Republic, for the last 5 years, we have seen it improving year over year. So something here is working and taking the rule of law in the right direction.
even though we have been moving forward with the index and improving for 5 years in a row, I know we have main challenges in this justice sector. Which will you say are the main challenge we have in the justice sector? And how do you think we can work on those challenges on the next 10 years? And also, we know that the Poder Judicial has signed an agreement with the World Justice Project to work on those challenges that we have identified. And if you can merge those two answers on which are the challenges, how you see we can work on them, and how is that agreement help us move forward, and even though improve even more how we are performance on the rule of law.
Well, thank you very much for this question. And I appreciate the recognition of the challenges that remain. And I want to underscore that every country in the world has rule of law challenges that they need to address. It's one of the things that we see in our index. When we break it down into all the different factors and sub-factors, every country has strengths and weaknesses. And it's one of the benefits of the index is you can identify the strengths and weaknesses and where are the areas for focused effort to improve. So looking at the results for the Dominican Republic, there are really 3 areas that jump out as needing continued attention. First is the area of security and crime. These remain high in our index scores. The Dominican Republic ranks 106th out of 142 countries in our rule of law index. Additionally, many crimes go unreported, which reduces the effectiveness of the criminal justice system in responding to insecurity. A second area of focus for the Dominican Republic is somewhat related, is criminal justice, where the Dominican Republic ranks 92nd out of 142 countries. And this measures a whole number of different dimensions of criminal justice effectiveness, ranging from the effectiveness, the fairness, the due process of the system. So those are areas for focus. And third is the civil justice system. Mm-hmm. And there, the Dominican Republic ranks 110th out of 142 countries. And here again, we see progress in some areas, particularly relating to accessibility and impartiality or non-discrimination in the civil justice system, and other areas relating to speediness or execution of judgments that remain areas for focus.
Probably related to the improvements that we have been doing in the last 4 years regarding to our strategic plans, Misión, Justicia, and Justicia al Día. And how do you think those challenges are going to should be faced in the next 10 years, and how is the agreement going to help us to achieve that?
Right. Well, the World Justice Project is delighted to have signed this memorandum of understanding with the judiciary and to be your partner in continuing to address the issues that remain relating to the rule of law in the Dominican Republic. I think there are several aspects of a successful response, starting with the data. Mm-hmm. And it's not surprising, given that that's a focus of our organization, but we really think that it is important to take an honest look at the performance of the system and take an evidence-based approach to designing reforms that are responsive to what the data show, and then measuring progress over time.
You have seen the observatory. What's your opinion on that initiative?
I was delighted. I think that may have been my favorite part of the conference, was visiting the observatory, because it is such a tangible demonstration of this commitment to a data-driven, evidence-based approach. It's also really opening up the justice system to the people, and that's another important strategy for progress, is transparency and accountability, so that people know what the justice system is working toward and can hold it accountable and can access the services of the justice system in order to solve their problems.
That's it. And what challenges having the data, looking at data-driven systems, make us looking for data strategic decision, like based on the data analysis that we make. But at the same time, that's a challenge because we have to switch how managers are used to take decisions. Have you seen those challenges in any other countries, and how have you seen those countries overcome that challenge?
Well, there are many aspects of this challenge that you're describing. One is building the capacity of managers to understand and use the data in managing the system. A second that we emphasize in a lot of our work is ensuring that we are taking a perspective on the justice system which is people-centered, and looking for data that is not just about the cases that are at the court and being processed by the court, but understanding holistically the experience of people and their justice problems, what we characterize as their justice journey, from having a problem to seeking a solution, interacting with the system, or maybe not. Maybe they don't actually turn to the justice system, as we find is often the case. And then understanding why that is, and then adjusting the policies and practices in order to make the system more accessible and more responsive to people.
Yeah. So final question will be, how was your experience on the conference? What's the main takeaway that you have from this experience?
Well, I think this has been a tremendous conference, and I'm leaving it with a lot of hope for the Dominican Republic, and frankly for the world. As I mentioned, right now we see declining rule of law in many parts of the world, in a vast majority of countries, and the Dominican Republic is a little bright spot for us to cling to and understand what's going on here that is really bucking a global trend that is negative, and seeing progress, and then thinking about how we can learn from your experience and share that learning with other jurisdictions that want to also see the kind of progress that we're seeing here. The excitement in these halls, the really robust attendance and interest in the discussion is very inspiring and hopeful.
Well, as our president has stated, especially to you, we are like the laboratory of the world for the justice system. And that's our expectation, to be able to implement policies and procedures that help make justice more accessible, more efficient. We are so thankful to be able to have you here, to share experiences with you, to have you share your knowledge and your experience in the World Justice Project and on other institutions with us. Thank you so much for your time, for sharing this time with us.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.